Now we look at South Africa, where at least 30 people have been killed in days of unrest that broke out last week when former President Zuma handed himself over to authorities, sentenced last month for defying a constitutional order to give evidence to an investigation into high-level corruption during his 9 years in office. But the protests have been fueled further by frustration over poverty, inequality, and the economic impact of COVID-19 restrictions. Facing mass rioting and unrest, the South African military now reportedly preparing to send some 2,500 troops to bolster the outnumbered police have proven helpless or unwilling to prevent attacks on businesses now across the country. Rioting has been especially widespread in the city of Durban and around the country's biggest city in Johannesburg. Here's President Ramaphosa.
What we are witnessing now are opportunistic acts of criminality with groups of people instigating chaos merely as a cover for looting and theft. There is no grievance nor any political cause that can justify the violence and the destruction that we have seen in parts of KwaZulu-Natal and Gauteng.
We're joined in the studio by our international correspondent, Batya Leventhal. Take a closer look at this, Batya. Thanks for being with us. And given your personal connection clearly to South Africa, we want your perspective on this. We hear over years, sometimes bad reports emerging from South Africa. Not sure what to make of it in this large country here, but how bad is this current situation that we're seeing now?
As a South African national, you almost sit with a lump in your throat. I mean, I was born into a democracy, a nation that was very much trying to sew the indifferences together and be bonded by unity and just move forward. So to watch the country regress into where it's going now, and Cyril Ramaphosa, the president, said it just perfectly. This goes far beyond protests of Jacob Zuma being in jail. This has become the advancement of, criminal acts, of opportunities, allowing for, what people are saying is poverty, and they don't have another choice but to steal and but to do this. If you are not protesting peacefully, and it goes beyond the point of you stealing something from a store, ransacking, looting a store, you are essentially a criminal. This goes beyond a protest. It's no longer, on that same line. And so to watch these visuals coming out of, the South African police service, which, you mentioned unwilling to, you have to remember, we're not just talking about corruption of a former president. We're talking about the corruption lineage that goes far beyond that. There's police officers within the force that are corrupt, that were partaking in the looting and the rioting and had, people on the inside helping them do that. And so, the calling up of the army isn't just a matter of most countries where it's, let's try and bring in the army to sort of quell the unrest. This is more a matter of we don't have anyone else that, might not be able to be bought, or that's part of it. And so it really is just very heart-wrenching to watch what's going on, and to, Cyril Ramaphosa's got a massive crisis on his hand, not just with the terrible coronavirus crisis that's ravaging through the country, but now he's got this social unrest and divide that just seems too big at the moment to actually handle.
And on the screen with you here, I've been playing, as you mentioned, this so much footage emerging from the country now, so many examples of the looting, of the unrest, of the violence here. The jailing of Zuma, how sensitive an issue is that? President Zuma, not exactly a beloved character throughout his many years in office. Was that truly an explosive issue in South Africa?
I think it's less sensitive and more ironic. We're talking about a leader that was already in jail before. You have to remember Jacob Zuma went to prison fighting alongside Nelson Mandela in order to free the country from the apartheid reigns and usher in an era of democracy. Now the very foundations of the democratic building that he built is essentially saying to him, you are not above the law. This is what you built. You are being charged under numerous counts of corruption, and you now need to face the consequences and go to jail. And now you have his supporters taking to the streets, rioting, looting, saying that, they won't stop until he is free. But this is the very system that he set up. So when you look at this, as you mentioned, not a very loved figure, but it depends where. The ANC, the party that he was part of, is the party that forced him out. Now, Cyril Ramaphosa is in place there, but there's very much a divide there, where you've got half of the party that really benefited under the corruption and under, having his cronies sort of on his side and being able to deal with all that corruption. And still today, while Cyril Ramaphosa is trying his very best to be able to wipe it out, it is so embedded and deep-rooted that it's more than just the head of the snake. You've got the entire body that still needs to be completely fixed. And, you know...
Where does this go? Well, in light of this really bad prognosis of the situation, what are people in South Africa, what are they saying? Where do they think this is headed?
It's a hard one. It's a very, very hard one, and society is very deeply divided. People are nervous to go out into the streets. You know, you're talking about the personal aspect of it. My mom, who works in a pharmacy, was unable to be able to get the exports that she needed to be able to provide her customers medicine which is so deeply needed at the moment, given the coronavirus third wave that is completely devastating the country.
Compounded issue.
Over 20,000 people every single day being infected with the virus, and a vaccine effort that, I mean, 4 million people out of 60 million people that have been vaccinated. It's a very slow rollout. It's being staggered, and it's obviously being put on hold given what's going on.
But Leventhal, important time with us. Thank you very much. Fortunately, tough story, but that's all for our coverage this hour. David Matlin coming to you live from Tel Aviv.